All right, today we're going to talk about Wesley Chapel. Wesley Chapel is one of the most popular suburbs and one that I get asked about the most. Stay tuned if you want to hear about it. I'm Sam and welcome to the Living in Tampa, Florida channel. Every single week we release videos about what it's like to live, work, play, and move to the Tampa, Florida area. If that's something you're into, make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell so you get notified for every one of our new videos. I am a licensed realtor in the state of Florida, so if you have any real estate specific questions or needs, please don't hesitate to reach out. I love to hear from you guys thinking about moving here or planning your trip to check out some homes. Okay, Wesley Chapel. It's right up here. You see it here on the map. It's actually in Pasco County, just kind of the northern county of Tampa, and not much of this county is actually considered part of the Tampa area. As someone who moved here a year ago, I think of the whole area of Pasco County as part of the greater Tampa area. And actually this area of Wesley Chapel, I kind of combine with Lutz and Land O'Lakes and New Tampa. This whole kind of North Tampa area in Hillsborough and Pasco County, I kind of think of it all as the same. And when you move here, you might think of it kind of the same, but people that have been here a long time think of these as very separate areas, partially because these people have seen these areas grow. And these areas have grown a lot in the past 10, 15 years, and they're growing a lot right now. Builders are building homes like crazy in these areas. I just pulled into a neighborhood in the area to shoot some of this footage, and the sign at the opening of the neighborhood said houses ranging from the high 200s to the 900s. That is a huge range for a neighborhood. And for a lot of you, that could fit within your range pretty easily. So say you're in that 350 to 450 range, Wesley Chapel could be a really, really nice option. We'll get into some other factors that would contribute to your decision as well. And then we'll also get into some pros and cons at the end, so stick around. Wesley Chapel has 80,000 plus people, and the area has some pretty unique things. The most unique thing about the area of Wesley Chapel is the ice skating rink. I know, funny thing for Florida, Tampa actually does have a really good hockey team, so we do have a lot of people moving here that are interested in hockey. But this ice skating rink in Wesley Chapel is open to the public at certain times, but it's also kind of the spot for youth and competitive hockey. So if your kids are into hockey, if that's something they want to pursue, this suburb is an interesting place for that. Wesley Chapel is also home to this giant sports complex. So if your kids are traveling for sports, soccer, baseball, things like that, a lot of those tournaments could be located right here in your own town, which would be wonderful. Getting into some more of the details of the area, in terms of jobs, a lot of people commute to Tampa or work from home nowadays. So if those are either one of your situations, you got to think about your commute time or having enough space to where you have space in your house to work from home. Commuting to downtown is going to be a little over 30 minutes, and it's kind of a rough drive at like rush hour times because a lot of this area is driving back and forth with you. There is job opportunities in the area, and those are kind of centered around medical. There's an Advent Health Hospital right here in the area, some retail, so a lot of shopping and restaurants and things like that, jobs around those kind of industries. And then some education jobs. There's a few big school districts in the area. All right, that just kind of transitions us into schools. The Wiregrass School District on the south side of Wesley Chapel is one of the top school districts in the area. And then on the north side of Wesley Chapel, the actual Wesley Chapel School District gets about a B on average, which is actually still really good. I like to keep in mind with school grades, the people, I mean, some of it's just like actual grades, like how do the students perform and things like that. But oftentimes the people that go on and leave reviews are the people that are gonna leave negative reviews. I had a business on Amazon for a while, and the negative reviewers were always the loudest. And I also understand that people find those kind of reviews helpful. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at school grades. The people that have a bad experience are so much more likely to go on and write a review of a school compared to the people that have a good experience. Florida also has school choice. I have little kids, so I don't think about this kind of stuff that much, but I've been trying to understand it for you guys. School choice kind of gives you the opportunity to advocate for your child to be in a different school district. So certain schools around here have certain kind of programs, and if the school that your child is in doesn't have that kind of program, say it is an engineering program or even a culinary program, then you can advocate for your child to be placed in a different school district so they can take part of that program. That is a really interesting thing about Florida and about the Tampa area, because you do have a lot of diversity in these schools and in these education programs, and you can advocate for your kids to be placed in different ones. Wesley Chapel does have a lot of shopping. They have the Wiregrass Mall, which is a big mall. You kind of see some of these shots kind of going through there. I actually went there before they opened so I could fly my drone through this central area to kind of get a feel for what this area is like. There's another area up north in the northern part of Wesley Chapel called the Grove, and it's more of like a Best Buy, Ross, World Market kind of shopping. But the owner of that whole lot is doing a big new development. He's brought in a bunch of shipping containers, and he's building this kind of outdoor shipping container mall. And it's supposed to feature 35 restaurants, which is so cool for the area, because what you do have other than that kind of thing is really just a lot of chains. One of my favorite things about Wesley Chapel is that it's really built around these open wooded areas. I grew up in Oklahoma, and people would sometimes ask me, like, is there grass in Oklahoma? And it's interesting when you don't live somewhere where you haven't visited a place that much, you really don't know what the landscape is like. One of the things that shocked me when I moved to Florida is how wooded the areas are. There are just big forests. And I also kind of realized that, just north of here, they harvest a lot of wood that goes into making furniture and paper and things like that in states like Mississippi and Alabama. So Florida has a pretty similar landscape to a lot of those areas. There's a lot of big wooded areas, but there's also a lot of water features. And neighborhoods in Wesley Chapel are built around the wooded areas and the water features. So you have a lot of ponds and lagoons and things like that in the midst of these neighborhoods. And because it rains so much and the water moves so much, these stay pretty clean. Okay, let's get into some of the pros and cons. Pro number one, new construction. There are tons of new construction options in Wesley Chapel. Right now, these wait lists are a little long, kind of like around the 6 months range. But you have so many different options. You have townhouses in the mid 200s, and you have single family homes all the way up to the low 1 millions. And this provides a lot of diversity, and these builders are very competitive with each other in terms of quality. And there's a lot of very high quality builders up here. There are a few builders that I wouldn't recommend, but I don't want to disparage companies on the internet like this. So whenever it comes to you actually searching, I'll kind of point you in the right direction. Pro number two, thoughtful neighborhoods. These are master planned communities. They are very considerate of space. A lot of them have pretty big lots, and if they don't have big lots, they have big features that are available for the public. Like parks like this, like open areas. There's a dog park in this neighborhood. There's all kinds of playgrounds. There's all kinds of pools and gyms and things like that in these neighborhoods. Pro number three, and this actually comes from my time in Colorado that makes me notice this pro number three. I feel like the signage is really limited. You don't have a lot of billboards. The signs for all the restaurants and stores aren't up real high. You can kind of see across the horizon a little easier in this area compared to some other areas in Tampa. And pro number four, there's a lot of things that are close. There's a lot of stuff within the Wesley Chapel area. If you have young kids that are involved in sports and a lot of extracurricular activities, this is a really, really nice, ideal area. But if you want to get to a lot of these things, you still have to drive. This is not a walkable area at all. Within your neighborhood, there's a lot of walkability, but overall, this is not a walkable area. Okay, let's get into some of the cons. Con number one, CDD fees, Community Development District fees. What this means is the builder, say it's M&I Homes, they go to the city or the county or the state and they take on some debt. And this debt gets repaid through CDD fees, which are added on to your property taxes. Previously in another video, I think I said these expire around 10 years, but I've been corrected. They're more like a 20 to 30 year range. So if you're buying a brand new house, you're probably going to sell it and move before that CDD expires. Of course, it's going to expire for someone eventually, but not for that first 20, 30 years of the home. Con number two, new construction. Most of the homes around here are very new. So if you're wanting a pre-owned home, if you're wanting a little more character and a little something specific with a pre-owned home, this is not really the spot for you. Con number 3, and this is kind of my personal opinion, but it's a lot of chain and predictable kind of restaurants and shopping and things like that. So if you want a little more diversity and that kind of thing, if you want a little more of that kind of local vibe, then this area is probably not best. Con number 4, the commute. If you're working in Tampa and if you're living in this area, you likely are, that commute can be pretty rough. And there's kind of a couple ways. You can go 275 or you can go Bruce B. Downs, and these areas just get really congested because a lot of these people are commuting into the Tampa area. So that commute to downtown or even to northern Tampa can be pretty rough during those rush hour times, which are kind of 8 to 9 and then 4 to 6. And the last con, number 5, the trek to the beach is pretty long. If you want to go to Clearwater Beach, it's gonna be an hour plus, and it's kind of a rough drive. So if you're moving to Florida and you want to be at the beach every weekend, this is too far. But if you are moving here and this is just going to be your home, you realize that your life is mostly going to exist within your neighborhood and surrounding area, and you want to get to the beach a couple times a month, then the drive might not seem so bad. I hope you found this information about Wesley Chapel useful. If you did, please hit that like button, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. And if you have any questions about the Wesley Chapel area or any areas around Tampa or even Florida real estate in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to help you in any way. My number and email are right there on the screen. Thanks for coming by.